This is Fleetbuilder, where I use a real-world tactical experience from my time as a warfare officer in the Royal Navy to build Star Citizen fleets. Each episode will cover a different mission where you'll get the benefit of genuine military principles as well as 3 ready-made fleets. Key to any military action is identifying what it is you're trying to achieve and ensuring that everything you put effort into is in support of that goal. This is often referred to as selection and maintenance of the aim. It's very easy to be caught up in taking an opportunity that diverts you from what you set out to do. Effective forces achieve their aim regardless of distraction. We're going to form a fleet to use in the Blockade Runner dynamic event, a fleet that will be just as useful in intercepting vessels elsewhere in the verse. Unidentified hostile elements have assaulted a nearby station, inflicting numerous civilian and law enforcement casualties. They are now in the process of removing high-value cargo and extracting. Enemy forces are believed to consist of a multitude of fighters and various cargo vessels either belonging to them or captured during the attack. Their destination and overall aim are, as yet, unknown. The Blockade Runner event rewards you for the cargo that you capture from the hostiles and return to the station. Therefore, our mission is to intercept the cargo, secure it, and ensure its safe return. Now, a quick pause. Ever watched a video about fleets and thought, now I could do that better? Well, prove it. Later in the video, I'll be telling you how you can design a fleet for a future episode of Fleetbuilder. This is the Squadron, designed for groups of around 5 players. Every ship is currently in the game, and every mechanic is also in. The Squadron embraces multi-role over specialist ships. Whilst there might be a particular ship that performs one role more effectively than the one I've selected here, the strength of multi-role ships is their ability to achieve multiple tasks, and this is vital when you are limited by the number of players and ships. I've gone for the Hornet in this setup, but really any fighter would suit. The Hornet stood out as the number of weapons it can carry allows it to have hard kill to chase off enemy escorts, and distortion to disable the ship carrying the cargo. The core of the Squadron is the Cutty Blue, using its quantum dampener to prevent the target from spooling and escaping. If we also have the requirement to pull ships out of quantum, this is an easy swap for RSI's Mantis. But the Blue's armour and weapon options make it stand out in this scenario. The inclusion of the Tracker is a superb illustration of how a scanning ship fighter hybrid really gives you some advantages when scanning becomes more useful whilst not sacrificing any combat ability. The C2 provides a secure area for its cargo, giving it the edge over the hull series or the raft if we're expecting some contact when returning to the station. It's also got serious carrying capacity, but you can swap this out for any cargo ship that can handle the amount of cargo you're going to recover after an engagement. This highlights the importance of knowing what you're heading into. No point in turning up with a Spirit if you're going to need to move all the cargo off of a Caterpillar. That same intelligence will also tell you if the ships are the right size to use an SRV instead of the C2, massively reducing downtime as the cargo doesn't need to be transferred, at the cost of the SRV's vulnerability when returning to a station in enemy hands. The concept of operations of this fleet is to strike hard and fast, dealing with a single engagement at a time. They arrive at the target location, where the Blue rapidly closes the distance with the target, engaging its dampener and relying on its survivability whilst the fighters deal with the escorts. Once the action has been won and the target disabled, the C2 is called in to transfer cargo. The obvious weakness with the squadron is that of capacity. Once that action has been won, it will be down to the Blue and C2 pilots to board ships and transfer cargo while the fighters fly cover. This leaves your two mission-essential units vulnerable if a quick extract is required. Once recovery is complete, the squadron will move as one to the station, covered by the fighters whilst the Hercules lands to return the cargo. The task group consists of 10 players and has a lot more flexibility, both in terms of player roles and the ability to bring more ships. The same restrictions as for the squadron are in place, only flyable ships and only mechanics currently in the game. The players here are not where you might expect. My intent is for both of the standard Scorpius to start with a single crew member, and both Furies to be spare on board the Carrack. This leaves two crew members able to pilot the Furies, man the Carrack's turrets, or perform any number of other roles such as cargo transfer or boarding. Sustainability is a core principle of modern warfighting, and that's why I've included such redundancy in the task group. If ships are lost, surviving crew can return their effectiveness to the fleet by gunning Scorpius, or piloting the Fury, or crewing the Carrack. That Carrack is the task group's flagship, acting as both a mobile spawn point and as the secure cargo hold for the objectives. Given the higher number of fighters in the task group, the Mantis is my first choice, given that it can be better protected during an action, and adding the ability to pull targets from Quantum if required. The Antares' role is to stick close to a target using its dampening field, preventing escape just as the Cutty Blue did for the squadron. By having both the Antares and a Mantis, the task group gains the capability for the Antares and a couple of fighters to chase down a target, while the Mantis stays in the shipping lane to prevent other vessels using the current engagement as a distraction to escape. The Lightning's loadout here means a scary spread of distortion and hard-kill weapons options, but again, they can be swapped out with any suitable equivalent fighter. What I like about the task group is it also presents great options to be built upon. Take one of the two spare players aboard the Carrack and have them take another cargo or an SRV, and you'll be able to deal with multiple targets at once, vastly increasing your operational momentum. The task group's concept of operations is more complex and requires a greater level of coordination than the squadron, as it may be split into doing multiple actions at once. The Mantis pulls the target from Quantum, at which point it is intercepted by the Antares and disabled along with any escorts by the fighters and the Antares EMP. The Carrack closes to transfer the cargo using the embarked players as security, boarding party, and as manpower for the transfer, leaving the rest of the task group free to engage its next target whilst that transfer is underway. Aside from the obvious difficulties with getting 10 players with enough time to play all on at the same time, the key to running the task group is avoiding overstretch. Having the Carrack and its players dealing with cargo whilst the fighters get caught up in a significant combat will stress not only the players, but the communication between the two activities, leading to poor coordination and likely the destruction of one or both. In other words, this task group is not something that will be easy to coordinate if you're new to fleet actions in Star Citizen. If you'd like to put up a fleet for review, the link to the Drinkers with Gaming Problems Discord is in the description below. Hang out and join the discussions, and keep an eye on the submissions channel, which will have details on the next Fleetbuilder scenario soon. Post your fleet using Starjump's awesome Hangar Link website, along with a description on how it all works. Please don't forget the description. Looking at you, Red Bear 1. Congrats to you, Can, Edison Trent, Soriak, and Jadomo for your submissions. I asked the community to submit 10-player task groups. In this entry, by Notorious ALB, focuses on using direct communication with the target and the Antares' EMP to bring them to a stop and ensure minimal damage to the cargo. The pair of Mantis will work together to vastly increase the coverage of the quantum snare, whilst the Eclipse acts as the last resort threat of complete destruction to ensure compliance. Once an Antares crew has boarded the target and taken control, cargo is transferred back to the Hull C. What captured my eye with Notorious's fleet was the level of thought he put into coordinating it all. 3 pages, in fact. Simple but effective instructions that could be learnt in no time at all by other players, including a group of categories that let everyone know, in 2 words, how compliant or not the target vessel is. When Fleetbuilder looks at a battle group, there won't be any limitations on number of players, what ships are available, or what gameplay loops in the game, giving us a look at how these things might work once the game is finally released. This battle group has sustainability and range on its side. By including a Starfarer and Vulcan, we now have organic repair, rearm and refuel capability, and cargo capacity to keep the fleet supplied. When we run low, the Starfarer can depart and restock whilst the battle group continues on operations. The Idris is the centrepiece of the fleet, supplying command and control, carrier capability, medical facilities and a brig, and the manpower required for the boarding party that will be using the Legionnaire. The Ironclad is the dedicated vessel for moving the cargo back to the station, given its above average armament and ability to quickly onboard cargo through the roof shutters. Terrapins will provide long-range scanning and reconnaissance to allow the fleet to position itself correctly to intercept vessels and provide early warning of incoming threats. The Hornets fly cap, whilst the Sentinel provides e-warfare capability against the target or responding enemy assets. And the Hammerhead may seem like an interesting inclusion, but its primary role here is to stay with the support elements in a remote location, providing security to them, whilst the Idris, Fighters and Mantis are dealing with the objective. So was this episode worthy of a sub? If you think so, you know what to do. Regardless, I'd love to hear what you thought about it and what you'd like to see me cover in future episodes of Fleetbuilder. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.